very distinguished Nigerians seated here in their large number, we insisted that the MC should do as much of introductions as possible, and that will continue in the course of the public hearing so as to save time. But I recognize the presence of very eminent members and leaders of the legal profession who are here, members of the body of benchers, including even our former chairman, OCJ Okocha SAN, as well as principal functionaries of government here present, including the chairman of the Council on Legal Education, Chief Ngige SAN, Director General, Nigerian Law School, Chairman, Law Reform Commission, and of course, let me also recognize very specially our traditional rulers, our royal fathers who are here, also in their large number. It's a long list, but the MC will continue to do his job in the course of this public hearing. Let me just welcome you on behalf of members of the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters. I wish to profoundly welcome our special guest of honor, His Excellency Senator Ahmad Ibrahim Lawan, PhD CON, the President of the Senate, who, in spite of the crowded schedule of both himself as well as the principal officers, accepted our invitation to declare this public hearing open. And by the way, let me also apologize to all of you that we did not start this exactly at 11 a.m., which was our intention. There was a bad clash between this public hearing and the invitation we got just toward the end of last week, Thursday or Friday, for the All Nigerian Judges Conference that is going on at the NJI. So for us, opening ceremony that was slated for 10 a.m., we had to divide ourselves, we had to shuttle between the two programs. May I also warmly thank all our colleagues who, in spite of their very busy schedule too, including the ongoing budget defense by different ministries, departments, and agencies of government, have also ensured that we're able to hold this public hearing. Similarly, I wish to also welcome all the leaders of both the bar and the bench, stakeholders who are here. We appreciate your presence at this public hearing. First and foremost, I wish to say that today's public hearing has been put together in order to fast-track legislative actions on the above-mentioned bills in view of their strategic importance to the justice sector reform process currently ongoing in the country. And for the avoidance of doubt, the bills under reference for which we have called for this public hearing today are: 1, the Legal Practitioners Act, Cap C11 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2021, SB 815. 2, the Legal Education Consolidation, etc. Act L10, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Amendment Bill 2021, SB 820, seeking to make statutory provisions for the creation of additional campuses of the Nigerian Law School. And 3, Legal Aid Council Act 2011 Amendment Bill 2021, SB 560. The decision to conduct this public hearing on the 3 bills at a go is predicated on the fact that the stakeholders identified by the committee for the bills are the same. Basically, the intent and purpose of the bills are geared towards enhancing the justice sector to be in tune with best tenets and practice as obtainable in other jurisdictions. Hence, the need to lump them up together in one public hearing in order to save time and ensure speedy passage. It is pertinent to also mention that the enactments of these proposed legislations are germane not only to the development of the justice sector, but also the socio-economic and political well-being of this country. As a result, I implore all stakeholders to give this exercise the utmost seriousness and attention it deserves. Mr. President of the Senate, ably represented, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is instructive to note that during debates on the general principles of the bills at various sittings of the Senate, divergent views were canvassed by distinguished senators. Thereafter, myriads of reactions were stimulated from relevant stakeholders and members of the public on the rationale of enacting the bills as acts of the National Assembly. Consequently, the committee resolved to adopt the legislative mechanism of conducting this public hearing in order to gauge and aggregate the viewpoints and opinions of all the relevant stakeholders in our bid to further strengthen and enrich the legislative process on the way forward. May I, at this juncture, crave your indulgence to briefly comment on the intendment of the bills under discourse in order to set the tone for today's deliberations, which we believe will not only be highly resourceful but also informative. Undoubtedly, your submissions will enhance the legislative exercise on the way forward. Without further ado, the first bill under consideration is the Legal Practitioners Act Cap C11 LFN 2004, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2020 SB 815, which was sponsored by my humble self. And when I say that, let me quickly also add that all I'd had was just the mere privilege of appending my name and signature to this bill as the sponsor, because it didn't come as an executive bill and it will have to come as a private member bill. But having said that, I must emphasize that this is a bill by stakeholders from both the bench and the bar. The body of benchers, the Nigerian Bar Association, has spent over a year or more working on this bill, and at some point also had to set up a harmonization committee to ensure that stakeholders' views were collated and as much as possible to make the job easy. And hopefully it would be a job that will not be too easy, that will not be too difficult for both our committee that's saddled with the responsibility of reviewing and recommending to the Senate, as well as the Senate itself, in trying to finally pass this bill. And for all intents and purposes, the proposed bill also seeks to expand the scope of the statutory responsibility conferred on the body of benchers in order to reposition it for the effective performance of its statutory functions in tandem with modern-day realities in the legal system, while the bill also is aimed at to strengthen and streamline the effective regulation and reform of the legal profession in Nigeria. This is in recognition of the fact that both the legal profession itself generally and specifically the body of benchers is the apex body of legal practitioners of the highest distinction in Nigeria. In my humble opinion, Mr. President and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the passage of this bill will no doubt facilitate the long-expected reform in the legal profession, as its provisions are structured in a way and manner that lay credence to the development of the legal profession, which ultimately will be beneficial to not only the lawyers but Nigerians in their quest for justice. The second bill under consideration today is the Legal Education Consolidation, etc. Act L10 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 820. This bill was sponsored by distinguished Senator Smart Adeyemi, representing Kogi West Senatorial District. Essentially, the bill seeks to amend the extant Act in order to make provisions for increase in the number of the Nigerian law school campuses from the current 6 to at least 12. Upon the enactment of this bill, at least one additional campus each will be added to the existing campuses in the 6 geopolitical zones of this country. This amendment is without doubt timely, owing to the ever-increasing number of law graduates from our Nigerian universities as well as foreign universities who endlessly struggle to secure admission into the Nigerian law school for them to qualify as legal practitioners in the country. Thus, with the exponential increase in the number of law graduates from our universities, there is need for corresponding increase of campuses to clear the backlog as well as to cater for the upsurge in the application for intake into the Nigerian law school on a yearly basis. This amendment would also bring about reform in the legal education and encourage conducive learning environment for both the students and teachers at the Nigerian law school. Undoubtedly, one of the salient amendments of this bill is to ensure that the establishment of additional campuses for the Nigerian law school should be in line with statutory requirements in order to guard against proliferation of campuses across the country without due process. This, unarguably, will safeguard the sacred image of the profession. The third and final bill under consideration is the Legal Aid Council Act 2011 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 560. The bill was sponsored by distinguished Senator Okajeb Emmanuel Y, representing Benue Northwest Senatorial District, who incidentally is the vice chairman of this committee. The bill, among other things, seeks to amend the Legal Aid Council Act 2011 in order to make specific provisions for the inclusion of Sharia Court of Appeal and other Sharia courts, and customary court of appeal and other customary courts in the pool of courts to be accessible for legal representation of indigent Nigerians by the Legal Aid Council. Undoubtedly, this amendment would ease the difficulties faced by indigent citizens who are deprived of legal representation in Sharia courts and customary courts. This is necessary because the rights to legal representation of indigent Nigerians are within the purview and core mandate of the Legal Aid Council, as provided in Section 46, subsection 4b, 1 and 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as altered. It is also paramount to state that equal access to justice is essential for the maintenance of the rule of law, as access to justice is the very root and the necessary foundation for fair hearing. Similarly, accessibility and presence of legal aid to all and sundry in all the courts in Nigeria is constitutional, and its importance cannot be underscored. Thus, it is imperative to put necessary and appropriate legislative measures in place to address these challenges so as to give less privileged Nigerians a level playing ground in seeking redress in Sharia and customary courts, which are closer and more accessible to the people at the grassroots. Finally, I wish to conclude this address by reiterating that the Ninth Senate, under the distinguished leadership of His Excellency Senator Ahmad Ibrahim Lawal, PhD, CON, is poised towards enacting legislations that will meet the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. In this regard, we are ready to collaborate and synergize with relevant stakeholders to ensure that no stone is left unturned in our quest to reform our laws and enact new ones that will stand the test of time. This is because lawmaking is the bedrock of socio-economic development and the fulcrum for the sustenance of democratic core value system in a heterogeneous society like ours. On this note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is now my singular honor and privilege to invite the representative of the President of the Senate, His Excellency Senator Ahmad Ibrahim Lawal, PhD, CON, who is here ably represented by Senator Sabi Abdullahi, our Deputy Chief Whip, to give Mr. President keynote address and to declare this public hearing